The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Cashman Mind, Body, Spirit Show. Today, I think it's going to be very interesting because, you know, I'm about the mind and the body and the spirit, but also about our health. To have a better mind, a better spirit, to be healthy really is a step in the right direction. Today, we will speak really about because sugar is the booger in the hooker, okay? That's what's really we are seeking in food, and we become unhealthy, and how to avoid disease. After a lot of reading and experience over the years, there's no question that drinking sugary drinks leads to bad health. Yes, that really, of the sugar that we conceive that makes us unhealthy, our whole body becomes sick from it, is sugary drinks. Yes. So I'm trying to figure ways, you know, to eat good fats, limit the amount of sugar, etc. But now this might be an easier way in some ways, but industry has so captured the amount of sugar that we drink, that our children drink, that the industry has lied to us, false advertise with us. Our congressman has become involved with it. High fructose corn syrup is real cheap now, and the reason is that the government supports the price of corn and fructose corn syrup, and making it so cheap that the companies that make these sodas, which is mainly Pepsi and Coca-Cola, there are many, many more companies, but that's the main ones, that they've been able to buy some of the contents of a sugary, of a drink, which is mainly water and sugar is the main thing. Yeah, there's some sodium in it, but not that much that yet you have to worry about it. It's mainly sugar and water. Yeah, that's it. And the industry has so captured us that our children are consuming very many of them. And I think if we could teach the kids, maybe the schools would help, but they don't help. This morning, the schools fed the kids cinnamon buns, so I don't think that they can help. But let me tell you a lot about the background, and maybe you as a parent can step up to bat. Maybe education like I'm doing today, we can help. And so it has great impact on our health. It used to be that a sugary drink was 8-ounce drink, the government, but then the government increased it to 12-ounce is the size of a Coke or a Pepsi. During the Second World War, our soldiers, you know, they're stressed. You can't believe it. Like Coca-Cola provided a 5-cent Coke to every soldier across the world. Sugar's addictive. Many became addicted to it and created a lifetime of poor health. Sugar wasn't so prevalent till a few hundred years ago. Only the rich could afford it. And then they brought slaves over here to help farm the sugar cane to keep the price cheap. So and today even it's very cheap. When I go to one of the markets to go shopping, and I get there to get the newspaper. One of the convenient places I get 2 or 3 newspapers. I just read a lot, and I watch the people going through the line, and I notice you can match what they're buying with their body size. Yeah. Some of these, and the bottles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they have more sugar and more sugar, and the people are becoming overweight and sicker and get diabetes. That to me, that if we could figure out a way to get to our children to teach them not to consume so many sugary drinks, maybe we can have some method of teaching them to be healthy. Children are developing diabetes at a very young age. They're becoming overweight now at a very young age. I mean, I went to the Children's Zoo the other day, and I've educated eyes. I'm sorry. 2,000 books in my basement. I'm sorry, but I'd say 70% of the females, and I'm not picking sides here. Men are even worse, but the zoo women bring their children there. I went to see the brown panda. It was beautiful. I took pictures, and I'd say 70% of the women there were overweight. But diabetes, which is 30 diseases, can occur in thin people, so get proper blood tests is important. 20-30% of the diabetics are thin people, so you can imagine how sick our county, our state, our country, and the world is from sugar consumption. Okay, so let's review sodas a little bit. Some are carbonated. I drink Calabrino from Italy. It's carbonated. It maybe costs slightly more, but the carbonation, the CO2, it's the carbonation. That's not sugar, but that the bubbles and everything has feel better. I feel like drinking it more. So that's what I drink. So we have bottles, cans, jugs, soda pop, fizzy drinks. Remember, and Coke and Pepsi are the biggest seller of sugary drinks. And now they claim to have some. They have no sugar in them, but some are flavored. Some have artificial sugars in them. So you got to read the labels, and but only 2 main ingredients: water and sugar. And some are carbonated. Some have coloring in them, so they look differently. But they also have in them a little bit of sodium, but not very much. Some have a little bit of caffeine. Some have flavorings, additives, but generally to a small amount. The main contents is sugar. And if you look at some of the markets, as the people there check out, they have some of the bottles there. Just look at the labels. I mean, the bottles are getting bigger and bigger. Of course, they get more sugar content, and some of the people walking out, they'll drink a lot of bottles there every day, and they're becoming very unhealthy. So sugars are high in fructose, a type of sugar made from corn. The government, by billions, supports the price of corn, and the sugars in corn have glucose and have high fructose corn syrup. And that doesn't even raise your blood sugar; it goes straight to the liver, turned into fat. And the government supports the price of the corn, which makes the drink cheaper. The government is supporting the price of sugar, and especially fructose corn syrup, so these companies can sell their drinks and addict you to sugar at a cheaper price. That goes on all the time and across the world. Some countries increase the taxes on sugary drinks, and that's elasticity of demand. If the price goes up, people generally buy a little bit less. But people are so addicted to it that the county next to Chicago raised the sugar tax. And I was driving through there, and I noticed in the newspaper that a few months later they rescinded the tax. That's politics. But they have a very unhealthy region of people. A lot of them have diabetes from sugar consumption. The majority are overweight. So I'm not picking sides or anything. I want them to live to be 100 and be healthy. But to me, maybe if we go after sugary drinks, it might be easier instead of telling people you got to change the type of food that you're eating. I think that's very important too. So the government supports the price of fructose corn syrup. We're talking about billions of dollars. Billions. Of course, someone's paying the taxes for that. The one who don't drink sugary drinks are paying the taxes to support the price of bad food. They're paying it. So for political reasons, the European Union favors sucrose, but it has no government support of the price. They don't want to pay the taxes, and they're getting healthier, okay? Now I read in the newspaper that airplane fuel, they want to use the energy to make the plane fly from corn. Wonder why? Because it'd be cheaper, it would cost less, because the government supports the price, which supports the energy, and the plane will be able to fly a little bit cheaper, okay? And so in the 1970s, corn refiners separated the fructose corn syrup from the glucose, but they did it because the government supports the price. And now sugar can come from beets also. I lived in Germany as a child, and I remember we grew a lot of beets because that was our only source of sugar. So classic Coke still, by that label, still uses mainly sucrose from beets. In 1984, Congress raised the price. Let's listen to this. In 1984, Congress raised the price of sugar. They raised the price, so Coke, Pepsi, all these companies will look for cheaper sugar, and they found it in fructose corn syrup, and the government support the price of that, okay? So beets about 3 times as expensive than fructose corn syrup. So a lot of politics involved in sugary drinks. The standard size in 2014, before that, 2014 was 8 ounces. Pepsi and Coke increased their size to 12 ounces. A bigger bottle, you got more sugar, okay? And the FDA approved, increased the size from 8 to 12. So the government really approved it, and which was a major mistake, because now people consuming sugary drinks, especially kids in school, for example, were getting much more sugar and becoming unhealthy. So sodas are about 50% of your sugar consumption. That's why if you can reduce the soda consumption in your family, they will be consuming less sugar and they will be a lot healthier. Okay, so what are these? What's the nutrition information on sodas? They're made from water, sugar. Remember, you talked about sodium, caffeine. There's about 41 grams of carbohydrate, sugar, in a 12-ounce drink. Okay, they represent, on the average, 150 calories per day that people are taking in. That's a typical drink, 150 calories. Coca-Cola is 10 fewer calories. So again, as I mentioned, they have no nutritional value whatsoever. A little bit of sodium in there, some water in there. So sugar is what the issue is here, okay? It's the hooker and the booger, and it's what's making you unhealthy. But it makes us feel so good. I've had discussion with and debated on television on this very show. Matter of fact, what's more addictive, sugar or cocaine? There was agreement it was the sugar. Sugar is more addictive. And so we keep on drinking more drinks. Then you get used to drinking 2 Cokes. Now it's 3 and 4. And then, like I said, I went to the big market in line and was looking at the people. These are sugar addicts I was looking at. They were taking out huge bottles full of sugary drinks. Remember, I'm trying to make you healthy. I'm not being critical. I learned a lot of these things. I didn't know that. I just have, remember, my basement has got in it 2,000 books. And I've read them all. I use them for these TV shows. I was glad to hear that Wesleyan University, I spoke to different places, you know, and they are going to, because I'm moving, I'm moving to downtown Fort Wayne, because it's building up so beautifully, and it's inspiring. But Wesleyan is going to have a room with bookshelves and put in there my 2,000 or so health books representing dementia, cancer, headaches, migraines, just one disease or another, but they'll have them concentrated in one room. Yes, and the Marion campus and the one on 24th Street to 9, that's great news. I think that'll be up and running probably within a year or so, because I'll have to get them there. They're going to build the shelves, but I must compliment them. They're so enthusiastic to improve the health of the community. There'll be a diabetes prevention, stopping, and reversing center, which means those 30 diseases you get from that will occur less in this area. It'll be a center of diabetes prevention. Isn't that wonderful news? Let's compliment Wesleyan University. And so in 1984, Coke and Pepsi, their sugar was high fructose corn syrup. Remember, it's cheaper, but it also goes straight to the liver and has many harmful effects there. And how can this affect even children? I tell you, the easiest way is brushing your teeth. Bacteria grow in our teeth, and viruses, and because they love to eat sugar. So teaching the kids to have good dental care, starting at a very young age. We'll speak more about that later. Starting at a very young age will make them a lot healthier and reduce the rate of sugar addiction. Start even at age 1.5, when they have deciduous teeth. Even teach them kids how to brush their teeth. If they do that, if they floss to brush their teeth, they will reduce a tremendous amount of infections of their teeth and their gums, and their enamels will not erode. When the most common disease in children, dental disease, most common disease in children is dental disease, and those bacteria in their gums, in the teeth that are resulting in erosion of their enamel, is eating sugary food. And those bacteria that are there will spread to the brain and to the heart and cause a lot of other disease. So dental care is extremely important. I even have with me today a book. I hold it up, and I think it should be a requirement for every doctor, every dentist, that this really would be almost the Bible of nutrition and health. This is by Weston A. Price, DDS, Weston A. Price, DDS. There we go. Take a picture. You can get it in the library. You can get it in the library. I've read it a couple of times. This wonderful dentist, Weston A. Price, after practicing so long and looking at bad teeth, wanted to know why this was occurring. He traveled across the world and just had people smile and took pictures of their teeth, and he could then tie it to what they were eating. Yeah, and if you take care of your teeth, your child's teeth, I didn't know it, and no one ever told it to me. I didn't know to brush my tooth regularly till I was in college. Yes, my fraternity brother came to me and said, "Rudy, you got to brush your teeth. We have girls coming over today to me." But I've been doing it ever since, and flossing, and I still do it at this tender age of 39 for the 40th time. I brush my teeth every day, and I floss, and I rinse, and I've had no dental pain probably now for almost 10 years because of that. I encourage you to do that, and he found tribes and nations where they're very healthy. Like here, he's a picture of Weston Price, and someone from the Maasai tribe illustrate the splendid nutrition provided by that diet. And it's not just eating vegetables. Believe me, eating meat, milk, and here's a picture of them. Many pictures in this book here. That if you, I encourage you to get involved with this, and you can keep your whole family and yourself healthy. And sugary drinks is one of the biggest causes of dental disease. Yeah. Isn't it fascinating? And many times people use sugar substitute. Okay, I don't want to drink sugar. I use sugar substitutes, and they're not sugar, but they have the same chemical effect, and they can addict your gut. Your gut will change if you use sugar substitutes regularly, and sugary drinks will affect those bacteria living in your gut, and the way the physiology of the gut is that a sugary drink will, because it can be more easily absorbed into the body, it will cause greater effects in you than the same amount of sugar if you eat it in food. Sugary drinks are worse than sugary food. Yeah. So what an advantage would be if we would encourage the nation, the people, your children, your family, yourself, to drink less sugar drinks, maybe not at all. I don't drink them at all. I drink water, coffee, Pellegrino carbonated water with some lemon and lime, for example. But I don't drink them all. I don't need them. And the sugar substitute, artificial sugars, aspartame, sucralose, stevia, and people always think stevia is a wonderful way to have because it's from a plant, to have a safer, to have that sweet taste and not have the bad effects of other sugar substitutes. But here's a book, The Stevia Deception, by Bruce Fife, very well-known author. I encourage you to look at that. And what they're really saying most of the time, when you think that you are putting a drop of this in your coffee or on your food or take it as a pill, they are not what they say there is. Yeah, most of the time it's artificially made. It's not really from that plant that they say that there is. It's supposed to come from Ecuador, but many times it does not. And he's really saying the hidden dangers of low-calorie sweeteners. Read that. Use one regularly, and what they're saying in this book is that sugar substitutes, because of its effect on your hypothalamus, your brain, and on your gut friends, those trillions of bacteria living in there, is that it is more addictive than regular sugar. Yeah. If you want the scientific proof, read this wonderful book. And but through clever marketing and advertising, we've been sold on the idea that stevia is a natural herbal sweetener that is not only harmless but even health promoting as such. It's promoted as a better choice over sugar or other low-calorie sweeteners. So it has become a multi-million-dollar industry, heavily promoted by multinational corporations who are taking full advantage of this healthy image to sell their product, but it's not healthy. Read it yourself. Don't just believe me. Read it about yourself. Don't use stevia. Don't use sugar substitutes. But again, I'm here to bring information to you, and I have here a book that you can gather more information. It's important. It'll determine how long you live, how healthy you are, whether you become disabled at a young age, whether you'll have your legs amputated, develop dementia, heart disease, strokes, increased rates of cancer, which is what people who consume a lot of sugary products and develop type 2 diabetes, that's what they get. So total sales of soda drinkers per capita, about 160 sodas a year, most of them. Argentina, now the average, we're talking about the average, is 145. India is the lowest, probably because they can't afford it, but they're getting sugar from elsewhere. They eat rice, for example. Then industry invaded them with processed food, and now India has the highest rate of diabetics in the world. China's number 2, U.S. number 3. Why am I so against having diabetes? Because it's a cause of about 30, 40 chronic diseases: dementia, heart disease, cancer, blindness, thyroid disease, lung disease, liver disease, kidney disease, amputations, dislocations. I can go on and on. You don't want those diseases. And I'm trying to break this sugar industries back, which are led by soda consumption, okay? But I will tell you, in our area, our hospital systems here, I've been to all of them. I spoke to all of them. They have a diabetic department. They have obesity department. They have people who teach at their but they're not going to get rid of your disease, because I have been there, and their patients have been there. They will tell you how to manage it. I'm for getting rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Then you'll be healthy and be able to play pickleball with me at age 39 for the 40th time, like I did today at Wildwood Racket Club. Okay? Am I bragging? Yes, because I practice what I'm trying to tell you, but I practice that. I know what bad food is. My dad held a deli in New York City, in Manhattan. Yeah, that's bad food, and they served it to me. But here I am at this time, normal blood test, on no pills. I've got to leave and show them to you, the blood test, and I have before on television. I want you to be the same. I'm leading the charge, okay? And today I moved downtown to carry further with this industry. Actually, you know what I was thinking a few days ago, and I'm going to do it. You know, I write books. You can go to Amazon Books. You can see it. That I'm going to write a book called Downtown. And I'll change the song a little bit. So other countries, they sell sodas, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. They sell all over the world. Some countries even have formed sugar taxes now. And that seems to reduce consumption a little bit, but not enough. What about consumption in different age groups? Age 2 to 5, about 91 soda drinks a year. 6 to 11, about 157. Age 12 to 19, 245. Now, some people have gone to bat and have pulled availability of sugary drinks out of the schools, and they got to go a couple of blocks before they can sell them to you, because the kids are addicted to them. They want them over the lunch hour, just like cigarettes. And I'm just facing up to reality. So in 2014, a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola had 39 grams of sugar. A 64-ounce bottle or can, whatever, 216 grams of sugar. You see them in cases as you walk into like Kroger's, which I did the other day, and a great place, well managed, but they're doing what the government allows them to do. Okay, and people are just loading their carts full of these sugary drinks, and they're going to be unhealthy. And since I have educated eyes, they look unhealthy. Am I being critical? No, I'm being knowledgeable. I'm trying to get them to change their way. That's the reason I'm doing this show today. So smaller drinks can be healthier, but they're consuming larger drinks, okay? I mean, you could maybe get away with one 12-ounce can. If you're healthy, you might get away with one. But most of the rise and high fructose corn syrup, the sugar that goes to the liver and causes all sorts of diseases, and is the cause of us getting bigger. And so sodas are a rapid delivery of sugar, but no nutrients, okay? And no chemicals, a little bit of chemicals, sodium, but it's very small amount. And so as Robert Lustig, famous doctor, you see him on YouTube, a pediatrician, he will say soda's a liquid candy. You might as well have a candy bar. And you know that's not healthy, yes. When you're letting your kid have a soda pop, you're giving them a piece of candy. Who would give their child a piece of candy? Some people do. That's because they themselves are consuming, okay? And so because it's liquid, it's rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, and it is metabolized immediately. Most food, at least, has to be broken down and taken apart, and it's got fiber, and it won't all be absorbed. And glucose and sugary drinks deposit, it's like glycogen breaking down that's already in your liver and can rapidly break down if your body needs sugar. The sugar is the problem. The sugar is the most important ingredient in soda, okay? So, and sugars are toxic, addictive. They're addictive, yes. I even have a book here, Anatomy of Food Addiction, The Brain Chemistry of Overeating. Very good book to read. An Effective Program to Overcome Compulsive Eating by Anne Catherine, M.A., and tells you the chemistry involved, and I'll refer to that a little bit later. And so we need to consume a little bit of sugar is okay, although your basic need, like let's take the human body, okay? It's about 60% water, so plus or minus a little bit. And it's 73% fat. Yes, fat. 23% protein. There is no need for sugar in the human body. They can live totally off of fat. People don't know that. I read that, and I was a little surprised at that myself. Yes, it's mainly water. Then the rest, 73%, is good fat. And even my body here, I don't feel any fat, but there's about 40,000 calories of fat in my body. It's a physiology. It's between the muscle fibers and 23% protein. You get some muscle to stand up. Incidentally, if you consume one of these new drugs, so Ozempic, Wegovy, these drugs, and you suddenly lose 50 pounds, 40% of that is muscle loss. Muscle loss. And they've determined now, by studying the muscles in the mitochondria that make them go, that those muscles, even if you go back to a good way of eating, the muscles will not all come back. So avoid the problem in the first place. I found that to be very interesting. But for some people, as Robert Lustig would say, that some people, that's the only hope that they have. Okay? And you have good effects and bad effects. You can, I have that on a YouTube show, but you can Google it and find out yourself. These GLP-1 inhibitors have good effects and bad effects, knowing both sides. Long-term studies have not been done, and there are some benefits, okay? So fructose is metabolized in the liver, and when you have insulin resistance, that's where insulin cannot push sugar to the cell. The blood sugar rate goes up, and they give people insulin, and they have to inject themselves, and they get heavier. You want to get heavier? Inject yourself with insulin. Some people need it. Type 1 diabetic absolutely needs insulin, okay? So fructose causes non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And the liver has a job to do. It has a lot of things to detoxify. But if you have it sitting full of fat, it doesn't do that. You're more likely to be diabetic. If the pancreas gets fat too, now you're diabetic. So, and are sugar and sodas addictive? Yes. Coca-Cola has been originally, you know, it had some cocaine in it years ago, in the 1800s. It's more than a century ago. cocaine, but the sugar is more addictive than the cocaine was. Yeah, and so both encourage addictive behavior. Coffee is a little bit addictive, but coffee increases sugar addiction. But I didn't say don't drink a cup or two in the morning. Hey, it wakes you up, and very little effect on your sugar level. But sugar is more addictive in children. They're more likely to become overweight, more likely to have a pot belly. Their brain is not fully developed till they're age 25 or so. So if they're drinking a lot of sugary drinks, it affects their intelligence. Their set point, the amount of sugar they can stand per day, is much higher. It has been well studied by the Monell Institute, I think in Ithaca, New York. It takes a lot more sugar for a child to say, hey, I've had enough, than an adult. And to keep that in mind. So children, and they have found that it affects the brain, that you can take an intelligent child and make them average. You can make an average child and make them retarded. Mm-hmm. That's been proven. And marijuana will also do that, except even a little bit worse. And a child, anybody can become addictive, but much more common in children. So here's some dietary advice. In the wartime, there was some sugar restriction because the soldiers were getting, and remember Coca-Cola provided Cokes at a very low price to addict them to the sugar. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And so the sugar available to the population was a lot less. And guess what? They became healthier. Diseases went away. People became thinner. And the consumption decreased because it was not available, but not for the soldiers. Okay, and advertising was allowed to children at that time, and they saw, especially the shows on Saturday morning, and kids were consuming more because they have more of a visual memory than we adults even have. Little children learn better from pictures than from words. But then the politics get involved, and they started restricting. In Europe, they don't allow advertising sugar drinks to children at all. They're just off the air. But in this country, they did it based on age group. I think it was under age 8 or 11 or whatever. So nutrient deficiency was not the concern. In the 20th century, we shift from not enough food to too much food. Not enough food was available in the 19th century, but in the 20th century, but too much food was available, okay? Now, excessive sugar, and it's promoted weight gain. Look around. Yeah. India has the largest number of diabetics, not percentage-wise, because they're the most people, 1.5 billion. China, number 2, huge rate of diabetes. U.S. is number 3. We have a higher percentage because we don't have as many people and our medical system, us doctors, hospitals, national associations, and the medical schools. They won't even allow me to give a lecture on this at the medical school. Yes, I've been there. I've been there with books, my books and other people's books. Mm-hmm. Watch out. Develop knowledge. Okay? And sugar diseases affect the eyes, the ability to see, affect our hearing, increased rates of cataracts, skin diseases, joint diseases. And in the mid-1970s, the Senate Select Committee on Nutrition, headed by George McGovern, a Democrat from South Dakota, had some hearings on the diet, and he said sugary drinks cause killer diseases, and soft drinks was causing 23% of our illnesses. Now, we think it's 50% of the people are consuming too much sugar, and some of the drinks I already mentioned, the amounts that are in one simple, these big bottles they have out there now. And so then they published the dietary goals for the U.S. in 1977, and the recommendations were not effective. Eat less. December 77 revised the goals, 45% decrease in intake to get sugar down to 10% of calories. That's what they recommend. But with soft drinks, that never occurred. So then these sugar companies pressured Congress to the point that their recommendations went from 10% down to 30, 40, 50%. Okay? So the HHS and the USDA joined to recommend less provocative because these companies were complaining so much and paying off the congressmen. So then they had the dietary guidelines for America in 1980. They do it every 5 years now. And all they said is you should eat less sugar, but that's all they said. And in 1985, minor modifications. 1990, 1995, recommendations always include drink less soda. They evaded clear, forceful statements about the need to reduce or eliminate them. They should have become established laws. And they did in the schools. You couldn't sell them there. And so they changed the laws a little bit. But these companies still control the food line in the schools. I try to just walk through the food line to see what kids are eating. If you won't allow me, just go online and you can see about it. The mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, and I must admit I like this black gentleman who developed diabetes himself. He lost some vision, and when he was head of Brooklyn, and then he talked to some people at the Cleveland Clinic, Mark Hyman, for example, but he became totally a vegetarian. I do not totally agree with that because there are certain vitamins and minerals that are in meat that we need, like B12 and certain nutritional elements, vitamins that are in meat. So I think a combination of vegetables, because I even read in the Journal Gazette the other day in breast cancer prevention, the lady wrote in a letter that she recommends strictly to avoid a breast cancer vegetarian diet. You may have less cases, but people always say, eat vegetables. Well, I hate to tell you, there's a book out, and I have a few copies at home, The Vegetable Con. We need some meat. We need some meat in our vegetables because not all the vitamins and nutrients that we need are in meat, are in vegetables. Some are in meat. We need a combination. And you follow my TV shows, you'll learn the difference because I have that book reviewed. And so we do need some fats. And then there is in the very book is a picture of Senator McGovern at the press conference in 1977, and he is surrounded by the sugary drinks that we are consuming by Americans. So Americans in 1975 were consuming 100 pounds per person per year. And over 50% of that's from sugary drinks. Yeah. Now we find out many people consume 200 pounds and more per year, and consuming 295 soft drinks per person on the average. Some don't at all, like I don't at all. Some a lot more, okay? So, and at that time, and they were still bad-mouthing good fats. They called them SOFAs, so SOFAS, sugar and fats, but they were wrong about the fats. And then they had new guidelines in 2010. Fortunately, a science committee reviewed the 2015 guidelines and said decrease sugary intake from sugary drinks. The U.S. population should reduce consumption of sugar sweetener beverages too. Remember, I showed you the book on stevia. For public guidelines, the USDA then prepared some food pyramids. You saw them for a while, pyramids and plates derived from the guidelines. But to give you some idea, the food pyramids, but they still they emphasize exercise, but not really the amount of sugar you could consume, or have a clear method of reducing the amount of sugary drink consumption. Remember what I've said. I think this is perhaps the easiest way for us to become healthy is to pay attention to what we are drinking. And so we have, now we have energy drinks, fruit drinks, teas, milks, and then we add color and coffee, anything to hook us, and flavorings, so we will keep on drinking them. So cutting down is good, but eliminating is even better. And so sweet drinks have been increased tremendously since '77. And the dietary goals recommended is down to 10%, but the industry has prevented us from implanting that. So if you drink just one 12-ounce bottle of Coke, for example, it has in it 12 teaspoons full of sugar. Just think, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 12. That much sugar in one drink. Wow. Suppose you're drinking 5 or 6 a day, which some people do. And so in 2002, we had new guidelines, and instead of recommending 10%, now we're recommending 25%. Okay. If nutrients, you don't need to worry about that much, because if your calorie content is adequate, 2,000 calories a day, if that, for example, would have in them all the nutrients, frankly, that you essentially need. And so then the World Health Organization also endorsed 10%. But then they dropped this too because of lobbying. And now, what are we looking at? A world where 50% overweight, and of great concern. So what are the health issues? Obesity, diabetes, and more. Sodas could be the tip of the iceberg. a marker of unhealthy lifestyle, poor quality of diets. Many studies separate sodas from other possible causes. The Center for Science and Public Interest displayed Toxicola, called them. Okay, and so the consumption of sugary drinks causes most of our diseases. So it's guilt by association, but it's been scientifically proven. Okay, and soda consumption also increased in Africa and Hispanic nations. Mexico, there's been a tremendous increase in the diabetic rate, to the point that they're starting to tax sugary products. And you consume more calories in sugary drinks, which can all be avoided. So this results a lot of times in metabolic syndrome, which leads to type 2 diabetes, and you get all these diseases, and increased rates of cancer. And people become addictive. They may be addicted to alcohol, to cigarettes, and sugary drinks. And those people that are, unfortunately, will not live as long. They'll have many diseases, maybe amputations, dislocation. And I already mentioned before, aim for sugar-free teeth. Dental caries, tooth decay, cavities. Most common chronic disease in children and adults and in the world is dental disease. And look at the price, and look at all the dental offices you have around, and how those dentists on TV, like I am, and teaching you how to prevent most diseases in the body. If we had it just for teeth, if we had it just for the teeth, and taught people how to prevent disease through brushing and flossing and gargling with preventatives, we would avoid most diseases. So to me, if we could head for the teeth and start in children, I think we would have the beginning of a downturn in chronic diseases. So I would start with the child as their first tooth. Teach them how to brush their teeth. They get used to it. It will be a habit. And when they have their deciduous teeth, which age 9, they will have fallen out. But if you don't do that, it can affect the mental and physical health of the child. Some children are born defective because the mother, when the child was in the uterus, when conception occurs, only about 80% of the genetic script has been written. 80%. What a wonderful opportunity. But the mother and the father and mother, even before conception, when they constructed the genetic structure, but when the baby is developing in the uterus, for the mother to have healthy habits, very important. If she's not brushing her teeth, if she's not eating the right food, if she's smoking and drinking and taking drugs, or stressed out and not happy, or singing a song, or the genetic script will be written of that child. The child could be born defective. The child could be born retarded. The child could be born addictive. It could be underweight. It could be overweight. It could be an infant child. Sometimes genetic script has been written and they're not overweight until age 6, 7, or 8, because the genetic script was written wrong. And I have written a lot of books there on Amazon, and you can go onto Rudy Cashman YouTube, Rudy Cashman Amazon YouTube, and I have on there 700 previous TV shows, all on health. So if you have trouble sleeping, look at some of them. I do a half hour on diabetes every 2 weeks at Public Access in Fort Wayne. And we have to give them a lot of credit for allowing this because they charge me nothing to do it. And this information is available to you. And if you add to it the YouTube shows, and I'm starting podcasts and Instagram. And from this, this show here will be on YouTube within 10 days. The library does that. Industry will not do that for you. They'll give you a pill or a shot, and even have a diabetes reversal department or an obesity department, but they're not going to get rid of disease. They say, here's your pill, here's your shot. But these things can be avoided through proper nutrition, but you must gain some knowledge. That's what I am here about. And let's celebrate today, too, that Wesleyan University is going to take about 2,000 of my health books and put them in a room. It'll be one at the branch on 24 and 69 and the one in Marion. And I'm going to buy them a TV screen which they can put up to look at the YouTube shows. It'll be an educational center on how to prevent diabetes. And here I wrote a book called Prevention is the Cure, and that's my point. I want to prevent it, but you can also reverse it, these diseases. So let's take the road to good health. I want you to live to be 100, so you can tap dance with me. You can play pickleball with me. And remember, tonight I'm moving to my first day to downtown, and I'm going to write a book by that name. The city is exploding, and I wish to be part of that. And there'll be a big story about this library that I'm speaking at today in my book in downtown. And we combine all this information with podcasts and Wesleyan University and YouTube. We may be changing the world. So thanks for watching. See you in the next show. If you have any ideas, call me up or look me up, or meet me at the Divine Cafe by the Coliseum, where I see people on Fridays at noon for free to get rid of their diabetes or what else they'll ever like to speak to. Why am I doing this? I'm a doctor, and I love you. Thanks so much for watching.